This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, I can see all of you.
Can you
Hear me?
hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Ruthie.
Okay, great.
Okay, great.
So I'm calling the meeting to order. We have all voting members and we have one alternate that will be voting. So I'll go ahead and start this. I'm going to skip number 2, the virtual meeting best practices. We've all heard that several times. We have items of community interest. The Carter Blood Care Blood Drive will be Friday, December the 17th at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the library parking lot. That's the only item I have there. Number 4, discuss, consider, and act to approve the meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look over it? And
I move that we accept the November 17th regular meeting minutes as written.
I'll second.
okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Does anyone have any further discussion before we vote? Okay, that would be no. So I'll call for all in favor. It's unanimous.
Ruthie's in favor.
Ruthie's in favor.
I'm sorry, Ruthie. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
I said I'm in favor
Yes,
also.
in favor also.
I thought I saw you raise your hand. Okay, we'll do that. Okay, discuss, consider, and act regarding the financial statement for November 2021. Thad, do you have any thing we need to know about in there?
It's pretty much same song, different dance. Is that how that goes? We are running hot on sales tax collections. They remain very healthy. We're at 38% of projected budget, and we're only 2 months into the year. One thing that was asked during Type A was the what is related to construction and what is related to consumption. We don't have that breakdown, but I provided to Type A that I believe it's probably close to 25% of the increase would be related to, Amazon shopping, increased retail sales within the community, and 75% of that increase is related to construction. Again, those are best guesses based on 20 years of being in the business, but there's no breakdown given by the state of Texas that we're able to share on that. And expenses are very low. Y'all know that I only spend it if I have to, and right now we've got a lot of projects that we're working on that don't require money. We had that for a long period on the road, and then we spent a whole bunch of money, and now we're back to not having to spend a whole bunch because the right-of-way is expended. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Okay, I think, are we still running under our estimated expenditure as far as the right of ways and everything? Are we
as
about
far as the
even, or-
original projection where we
Yeah.
thought it would be 4 million, and then I was guessing 3, we're just over 2 million total
Okay,
between the two
good.
EDCs. Yes, sir, we're
Okay, good.
well within.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions that maybe Thad can answer for you? Okay, I don't see any. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the financial statement as written.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Does anyone have anything else to say before I call for a vote? No? Okay, I'll call for all those that approve. Okay. Kevin. And I see Ruthie's hand up, so Ruthie voted also. So we're unanimous on that. All right. 5. Let's go to discuss, consider, and act regarding all properties and property management reports. Kathleen?
I have nothing to report at this time.
All right, well, we'll go right on past that then. We'll go to Public hearings on action items. So we're going to be talking about 7.1 is to consider an act and adopt the Trevino Craft Smokehouse and Economic Development Project and funding. So what do we need to talk about there, Thad?
We've been working with Trevino's Craft Smokehouse for probably a couple of months now, and we have discussed at various points and in executive, I can share now that we're out here in public, how to help Mr. Trevino perhaps replace Mr. Lee's barbecue location. He's been looking there. He has an agreement in principle to lease Mr. Lee's until the end of May. Again, he's trying to work out all those things. The discussion has been, whether he buys that property, rehabs it, or what he does next. We have discussed previously also the EDC leasing their lots that are adjacent to Mr. Lee's for his purposes of continuing to run his food truck while he puts all his financing together. So what I brought for you is a draft only lease. There's a couple of clarification points. We had talked about $1 for the entire lease through May, and we've got $1 a month in there per Rob Alabon. But one of the key components of this, at the end, the discussion was the ability to sell that property at $165,000 to Mr. Trevino. And as that is going to be below market value, that constitutes an incentive. So this has to be adopted as an economic development project eligible for funding by the EDC. And so that's the process of, you'll have to hold the public hearing, receive input if there is any, and then you can vote to adopt it as an economic development project. From there, you can specify how you would like this structured going, for the deal. And then we can put that all together and get the signatures.
All right. Does anybody have any questions? I think we have basically talked about all of this in previous meetings. So what we would be doing, I'll just rehash kind of what Thad said here. We're going to be leasing that to him for $1 a month to go until, was it May?
Yes, sir. End of May.
Okay. Until the end of May. And at that point, he will have an option then to purchase that property from us at the 165,000 mark, which is over what we actually have as the property. Is there anything else that I need to touch on, Thad?
No, there was just the public hearing, and I'll answer questions. But again, we have talked
Yeah.
about this a number of times,
And he understands, Mr. Trevino, Thad and I both have talked to him. He understands that this is our helping him. This is what we're going to do, and that's going to be the extent of what we can do to help him. So that's a pretty good lick. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Sorry, Ruthie. Let's say that Type B does vote in favor of this agreement, and in May he buys the property for $165,000, and then he turns around and sells it for $250,000. I mean, do we have anything in place that because we're giving this to him as an incentive, that there are any kinds of strings we can attach?
absolutely, that's part of the economic development incentive agreement. We will have Rob write in a right of first refusal. He can't just sell the property. He has to build a standalone restaurant on it, or he would not be in compliance with the agreement. So we would not allow a flip on a vacant piece of EDC property. So yes, we will make sure those caveats are in any agreement we have.
And does he have to maintain this facility in good working condition for any certain length of time? I mean, let's say, heaven forbid, his business does not succeed in this location, and he's built this building. Then can he say, well, I'm going to sell it now because I'm not able to? Is there any kind of like a 6 month, a year, or is that even really beyond what we could do?
That is typically beyond what we can do. We could still have a first right of refusal on purchase. So if he gets a valid offer on a new building that's getting run down and the EDC saw value, they could meet that price and purchase it back. So that can still be written in there. That way he can still go to open market if his business is struggling, but the EDC could also gain control again at whatever that market is at that time. But again, it's a first right of refusal. It's not required that you meet that price. It's just you're given that opportunity.
I would really like to see that right of refusal in both those situations. So that
We
at
can
least the
actually
EDC
write it
consider
in instead of a first right of refusal, which would be contingent upon his asking price, is that it reverts back to the city of Haslett, and the city of Haslett would reimburse him the original purchase price. So we can write that in, that we're not subject to some market price. If we let him have, if you let them have it at 165 and a year from now, and he, can't make it out here and decides that I'm going to sell my building and, sell your building, but you're not selling that property. It reverts back to Haslett, but Haslett EDC would reimburse him that 165 and you gain ownership of that property again. And that would be in lieu of doing a first right of refusal, which eliminates the market price issue.
The only thing that I see an issue with there, having been in the financial industry, he's going, and I know this for a fact because Thad and I have both talked to him. If we sell him that property, he's going to bundle that in with his financing program. So that property is going to become, it's basically going to be owned by the bank at some point. So I don't know how the bank is going to view this. That's the only thing I'm saying. Right, and I know that, and that's what I'm saying. I don't know if that's going to hamper his getting a financing program. I'm just throwing this out here because I have seen situations like that happen.
I don't need to bring something up. Could he be, his bigger cost is going to be the purchase of the building and that property goes with it and all those funds that's going to be required to do any upgrades and improvements that he needs for his business. That's the bulk of the money. I would imagine the 165 for that property there is a fraction of what his total outlay would be. So maybe explore that this is not to be used for collateral.
That's going to completely foobar him.
You think so?
Yes, it is, because that's exactly what we. Yeah, because he's going to. That's going to be his hedge at the bank to get them to move with him on this. Is the fact that he is going to own the land. And
so he's buying collateral right now.
He's buying his collateral to cover the purchase and the building of his business. I'm just throwing this out here because having been in the banking industry, I know how this is going to flow.
Well, that decision is up to you guys. It's up to you.
I believe as far as when he's buying it, the financing has no problem with that because of the collateral and everything. It's just we putting a restriction that if he sells it, we will buy first at this price.
That's first right.
Yeah, but it can be market, it can be 300,000 or 500,000 at that time. We buy it back, or we put if X years, if he sells it, we have a right to buy it back at 160. If he sells it after X years, then he's free to.
I don't know that. Let me think a minute. I'm just thinking about all the pitfalls. Well, let me ask y'all this. At what point in the future, from the time he gets his building built and he starts, at what point do we have nothing to say about it? I guess is what I'm getting at. Yeah, once we sell it to him,
5 years.
so you thinking if he runs his business 5 years with them, at that point, we're completely out.
But we still can keep the first choice at that point, whatever the market price is. But for 5 years, he will have to sell it back at the same price. Because it's an
What about,
Can I make sure I understand what y'all are saying? We're suggesting that we would do the first right of refusal under any circumstance.
Yeah.
But that also we're thinking about putting a restriction for a period of time, or if he.
that would be part of the
And
first
then-
right of
And that
refusal.
would include an amount, though, that we would have to buy it for. But we don't really have a problem, though, paying market value. if he's
honestly,
improved it,
Honestly,
if we want it.
I don't foresee this being an issue. I think we're worrying about something that I don't really feel like is going to be happening. And Kevin, to your point about 5 years, I think probably 2 years is probably more appropriate. Most businesses, they're going to fail. They fail within 24 months.
whatever board decide that was fine.
Sure.
The issue here, though, is not what the contract says. The issue is that we want to adopt this as a project. We can work out those problems later on.
Correct. I'm in 100%, I think we ought to do this as a project. This man he really wants to move into the Hcedc area. He's got a desire. Yes, sir.
Oh, no, I'm just go ahead and finish.
Yeah, he's got a real desire to move out here, and he's had his truck out there on the lot for the last 3 or 4 weekends, and I think he's sold out every weekend. So, I mean, he's feeling really strong about this. So I think I think really all we need to vote on tonight is to adopt it as a project, and then we can move forward with any tweaks that we need to make. Yes, sir.
Well, that's what you're adopting tonight is all these.
But they do not have to. Again, if they just take action to adopt it as an economic development project and direct staff to continue the research, Mayor, they can go ahead and do that.
We can do that and move on.
Instead of that, again, if you agree to what's in your packet, then yes, you would be agreeing to those deal points. If you just want to adopt it as a project eligible for funding, we can work on it a little more and get it back to you next month.
Okay.
That's finally in a better form.
I just want to make a couple. I'm just as high on Trevino as everybody else. And, but what we had discussed earlier, months ago, was about capping some incentive at $50,000. Oh, I'm just as high on Trevino's as everybody else is. It'd be exciting to have another place in. What we had discussed earlier on is, as far as any cash incentive, is capping at $50,000. Not with you, Economic Development Director, and I. And these are just comments. I'm just, for. But when I hear this is the first I've heard about this land deal, and based on a first right of refusal, and actually him buying this as collateral. How much area, land area is there? 1 acre. Okay. Well, that stuff's at a premium right now because just right next door, they're asking much, it's about maybe a quarter of an acre, $385,000. That's what I'm saying is to base this on first right of refusal, you're giving and be subject to, say, $500,000 a couple of years from now if you wanted it back for any reason, is giving money away. It's much more than an incentive. See what I'm saying, trying to say? So is it the deal points you're approving tonight? I would just give the, if you could give Thad and our attorney and some others opportunity how to structure the deal. So you're not giving $500,000 property away for $165,000. Is that, I mean, do we want a barbecue place that bad? First, I want to say this. I like Mr. Trevino, very positive guy. Cooks very well. It's delicious. But this is his first store he's ever done. It's always been out of the truck. This is his very first venture. So, and I'm not trying to throw a wrench into anything, but I want to express my thoughts to everyone here. Is just what I see. It's your decision, and whatever you decide, I respect.
Are we in the discussion part of the,
We're discussing it right
Okay.
now.
so I think the agenda item is just to adopt him as a project or not. So I
That is
think
correct.
we don't have to do anything more than that. We don't have to agree to any of the points in the lease. And then that, I think the mayor has a good suggestion that we then, if we adopt him as a project, then we can authorize staff to work on these points. If we want to continue to work on them, I don't think it's a bad idea to look at it a little closer.
Okay. Anybody else?
I agree. I just wanted to point out that we still have to have the public hearing as well.
Sure. Anyone else have anything? So I need a motion to adopt. Oh, we've got, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so we're going to open the public hearing on the matter of Trevino's Smokehouse at 6:25. And we don't have any, I don't even have Ruthie anymore. Okay.
I'm still here. I just had to turn
Oh,
off my
okay.
camera.
I lost you. All right, so the public meeting is open, and I don't, did you want to say something, Mayor? Okay, is there anyone who would like to speak at our public meeting concerning Trevino's Craft Smokehouse? And no one else is on the line, no one's in the building, so at this point, would it be appropriate for me to close the meeting?
Recognize that no one spoke and then close.
Okay,
These are the
no
best
one
ways to
spoke,
clean
no one came to speak, and no one called in. So we're going to close the public hearing on this item. All right, so now at this point, and that was at 6:26. All right, so now we can accept a motion to move forward on this as a project, and then we can then discuss at our next meeting, bringing this to a close that works for everybody. Okay, John made the motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt Trevino's Craft Smokehouse as an economic development project eligible for funding.
This is Hilborn, I second.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor? And Ruthie, what about you?
I vote yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that's, we're unanimous on that. So we can move forward. Do we need to, when do we need to discuss the finer points of this, Thad?
We can actually schedule this as an agenda item on its own for the next meetings where we've already done the public hearing. It can be a discussion
Right.
item where we've got more details and you can pick and choose from maybe a laundry list.
Okay,
of things
so, no, there would be no need to. There's nothing, the secret part of this is gone.
Right, and he's not, we would not share any financials. We don't have his
Yeah,
financials, so we're not
so there's
oversharing any
nothing
of his
to,
information.
yeah. Okay, so we're done with that one. Okay, so we've got number 7.2. Hold a public hearing, discuss, consider an act to adopt Brian Gaddy Commercial Development located 800 Blue Mound Road as an economic development project.
Do we have a map of that?
You should have on page, y'all don't have that. If you don't have your packet, can you go to the map on that one, Stephen? Uh-huh, it is. 30, is that 34? There's the location map of it. You can see Blue Mound and Harmon. And then now that you've got location, there's the layout of the project. And it is currently sitting in the ETJ. The request before you will be, and again, this one is similar. You can either agree to the, direct me to write an agreement up with Rob Alabon if you adopt this project, or we can discuss this one at the next meeting as well on finer detail points if you just want to adopt it tonight, if you so choose. This is it's a commercial business. They're building 3 buildings on that site. I don't have the exact square footage, but it's in the ETJ. So the ask is, would the EDC adopt this as a project and as an incentive for him to annex into the city so that the city receives that tax base as well as control in the future of overzoning should it redevelop? Would the Type B corporation be willing to pay that $1,000 fee so it's not a disincentive for him to come in? So again, that's the request.
It's just $1,000?
$1,000 at the time that he makes the request to annex into the city. So again, the tax benefit would accrue, as would the control over the zoning control over the site in the future.
Okay,
So
is this the guy that was being a pain, or was that the other
I
guy?
can give them more description of this project. Lord, I can give you more description of the project. This is Mr. Brian Gaddy. This property is up on Blue Mound Road. If you've seen this sign called Vista Ridge Commercial, this is a different development, but it's right next door. This particular development, Mr. Gaddy is building a what I call it's a high-end, state-of-the-art RV boat storage facility, and it's aimed at a higher level clientele. Their minimum rent price per space is $750 a month.
That lets me out.
Yeah, I haven't got anything worth that much. Nonetheless, as we got into discussion early on, visiting with Mr. Gaddy and him describing what he wanted to do, there were different aspects to it, water and sewer requirements. Being in the ETJ, it is very costly to connect to our water, but he would be required to do so because our subdivision ordinances extend into our ETJ. And so I brought up to him the concept of, well, if you were to do a deferred annexation where you can go ahead and build your facility in the county, which relieves him getting permits, paying permit fees, and subject to building inspections, though he's still under the building code of 2015 per state law, that he would have the advantage of connecting to this water system and not cost him $400,000. The advantage for Hcedc is because he can do this on his own out there and do whatever he wants and stay in the ETJ. The advantage for Hcedc is the opportunity to have that property come into the city. And this would occur probably within 9 or 12 months from now when he finishes that project. Then he would annex have to be annexed into the city because it's written into the development agreement that he has to do this, and he agrees to do this. So so he wants to do this. And I found it hard, I'm selling this idea of, well, I want you to annex into the city. Okay, I'll annex into the city. Oh, by the way, you need to write $1,000 check to annex into the city. And I asked that if he would bring this to you. I just, it's hard for me to go up and look at him saying, you've agreed to annex. Oh, by the way, I need $1,000. So this is where this comes into play.
So why is it that he's interested in being in the city of Haslett?
One, on the first is he would not be subject to that $400,000 impact fee to tie into our water system. That's one. And plus he, and having met with him, I mean, he is, and plus he wants the aspect of which I told him, I said, do you understand? You're in the ETJ. You're not going to get the same level of fire response as someone in the city limits. You're not going to get the same level of patrol from policing as you would out in the, being in the city versus ETJ. And that's just a fact. That's just this being so close in proximity. The county area does not get the same level of patrol as people in the corporate limits. And the same goes for fire. Now, I know that if something happened over there, they'd be on it like in a heartbeat. But these are just facts I needed to tell him. But also, he has a higher desire. He told me, I want to be a good corporate citizen. Yes, I'll be paying property tax on this, but I want to be a good corporate citizen. But also, I need to tell you is that most probably what he's going to do once he finishes his project, and this is his line of business, he builds these things and then sells them to another investor. So this is where it's key that it gets annexed into our city, because if another investor were to purchase this and they're still in the ETJ, anything can happen and we have no input. So it's very desirous on our side that we get that property in our corporate city limits, and we have zoning control. Now, when it comes in, when he annexes, it will be zoned agricultural. The benefit of him getting to finish out the project, which was his concern, is that once it's finished and he rents that first space, he's established his use. And in zoning, when he gets its own agricultural, that the city cannot tell him he cannot operate. You cannot disallow an established use when you, based on an annexation. So it protects him. And it gives us the ability to prevent something unwanted going on out there should he sell it.
Okay, I'm confused about one issue. The water, 400,000, something was mentioned.
Yes.
Who is paying for that?
An impact fee, no one would be paying for it. See, if you build within the city limits, you don't pay, a developer does not pay that impact fee. This is more at Firewater, but speaking very specifically about Firewater connections. See, he needs fire water out there. I'm speaking very specifically about Firewater. Like our big subdivisions going on out here, they don't have to pay an impact fee for this Firewater connection. And an impact fee, all it does is gives you the right. It doesn't get you anything physical. It just, you're buying the right to connect to our system. Then you pay for the separate tap fee. Then you, if he were out in the ETJ and tapped into our system, he'd be subject to $300,000 to $400,000 impact fee. Then he's got to pay what is called a tap fee. And he either has to do the tap himself, which is physically tapping into the line and bringing it to his property, or there's another level of tap fee he can pay where the city will do the tap and inspect it. But also, being in the ETJ, he had had to buy, which is not inexpensive, is a fire flow meter. So he, that whole line of fees right there could easily cost something like this, $600,000 to $700,000. That goes away with this deferred annexation. That's his incentive.
What about Fort Worth is going to charge a fee to us when he gets added? Is he's going to have to pay that.
On the domestic line, the domestic line's not an issue with them.
So
What is that
different.
issue is when you come in and you tap in an 8-inch line, that's a big deal. But that's not for potable use, it's for fire flow. And
So I'm a little bit confused. I want to make sure I understand. So we're talking about he would not have to pay this fire water connection impact fee
correct,
to the city of Haslett
or anybody else.
or anybody. But still, when he does connect to our water, he would pay any typical impact fees that might be related to that.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So we're not talking about waiving anything like that. Just like when someone builds a house, as you said, has happened before, they have to pay that impact fee, and Fort Worth now charges an impact fee on top of that, which we just passed through to Fort Worth.
Correct.
So we're not
You're
talking
correct.
about
No,
the deal with him wouldn't impact that at all. Now that is $400,000 though. I mean, how many years of taxes is it going to take before we break even on that?
Well, it does. We're not paying the 400,000. There is no.
But we're not getting it either, right?
We're not getting it, and we're not paying it out.
Would we have even ever gotten it? Would that impact fee have come to the city?
It's a pass through. If we have to do something like that, it goes to Fort Worth.
I believe I understand now.
Now, there are aspects. Let me back up and just clarify. City of Haslett, when we build our systems, whether it's sewer or water or even roads, someone comes in, well, let's keep the conversation, the roads is a little different, but let's keep it to water and sewer. We don't build just what we need. We upsize the system based on what we think is going to happen in the future. So the citizens of Haslett pay for the upsize of that line. When someone comes in and says, okay, I want to connect to this system, and we go, okay, well, you're going to pay this impact fee. And this impact fee, well, this is your fair share. We've already fronted the cost and installed it. Now you're going to pay your share of it. That's what it is, essentially is what it is. And the city gets to recover that.
So does that apply to this situation at all? How does that apply to this particular situation?
In this situation, if you're in the corporate city limits, now what impacts our line sizing? Yes, there's fire, but it's primarily the domestic water use that you use every day. And if you're in the corporate city limits, yes, you pay a fee to do a connection for your domestic water lines that you're using every day, all the time. Fire water is a different topic in that's a pure emergency use. And if you're in the corporate city limits, such as all these subdivisions, the fire water line, they're not paying an impact fee because of that. And that's hopefully it's not ever used. So it's not viewed to impact our system as the way as, another 1,000 homes out there does. We got it? Any other questions?
How many acres is this?
I think it's about 8. Just it may be something different there.
Should be. I got readers. I did not bring in the back.
So the reason why I bring this up is I was trying to figure out, because I know that Vista Ridge commercial sign is up there, and I'm trying to kind of get my bearings a little bit. And in doing a little bit of looking, I found an advertisement for Vista Ridge commercial, and it looks like this used to be part of that, and then
There is an 850 and an 800. This is only on 800 Blue Mountain. So I believe those were connected. You had talked about, Mayor, that part of that is in Fort Worth, their ETJ.
That's the district.
Randall, am I right in thinking that all we're talking about tonight is we're agreeing if they ask to be annexed, we're going to pay the $1,000 fee?
We're going to pay the $1,000.
So
And
all
I
the-
have absolutely no problem
So,
with
and
that.
also all the details that we're really getting into here are very interesting,
Unnecessary.
but that's really something in the development agreement that the council has to work out. Am
That's
I right?
that's their problem.
Okay.
This is not really
Okay.
anything we need to worry about.
So while interesting, it really
Yeah,
is
we need to
not
move
really
on.
part of our. Okay, well, I mean, it was very interesting, and I got
Yeah.
kind of up on us
No, I
not
get
getting that
that.
impact fee, but the council will have much more details. I think.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, guys, all
Can
we're
we hold the
talking
public-
about is we just want to adopt this as a project and to pay the $1,000. That's all. No, I assume nothing else is going to come later.
No,
since-
this is the only request is the $1,000 for the
Okay.
annexation.
So-
And again, part of this is because it is a commercial development and we did not want to set a precedent of waiving fees or anything like that.
Yeah.
At the city
This is a
level.
workaround.
This is a
Yeah.
workaround and it meets, again,
I've done many of those.
Do we need to include some kind of a time limit so that, if they drag their heels, this offer doesn't go on forever?
we would have all that in agreement.
That's going to
brought
be
you
up to the
next-
city
next month.
council. to
And is
work
that be part of the
out.
development agreement?
Right.
Development agreement will be executed, but also their final plat. They've already gone through the preliminary plat phase. The final plat is going before the city council January 17th.
Okay. So basically, that's all, we're voting on $1,000, guys. So. Oh, for $1,000?
Yes, sir. It's still an incentive. We
Oh,
don't have a line,
okay.
we don't have a
No,
line
that
item
makes sense.
specific for it. And it's just, it keeps it clean and legal that we've gone
Okay.
through the process.
Okay, it's, looks like it's 13 minutes to 7. We're going to open the public hearing on item 7.2, the 800 Blue Mound Road development project that was requested by Brian Gaddy. So if anyone would like to speak, now would be the time. And there's no one in here, and there is, I assume, I don't see anybody on the phone call at this point. So I'm going to close the public meeting at 12 minutes to 7. There was no input. Now, at this point, we're going back to I need a motion and a second if we want to take this
Can
up
I
as
ask
a
a
project.
question real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
So, Mayor, you mentioned that the time, or I think initially you said the timeline for annexing was 9 to 12 months. But then I know it was just mentioned about an agreement. So can you just clarify on that real quick for me?
I didn't hear everything, but I think your question is what the timeline on the annexation would be. The developer agreement has not been put before them yet. That is coming, but it would be, and I've already discussed it with Mr. Gaddy, that it would be 9 to 12 months. After he finishes construction and he opens his gates up, we give him 9 to 12 months to rent that first one. So the language would be, you have 9 to 12 months to rent your first space, which would establish his use, or upon the first rental, then you do annexation. So the key is him establishing his use to protect him under the law.
Okay, any more questions? No? Okay, I'll accept the motion.
I make the motion that we, 7.2, we adopt the development at 800 as a project and approve $1,000 for the fund.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. John was the second. All in favor? Okay, Ruthie, are you out there? I don't believe
Yes.
Ruthie's there.
Yes,
Oh,
I'm
there she
here.
is.
I'm here.
Are you for that, Ruthie?
I am for it, yes.
Okay, so we're unanimous. All right, let's move on to updates on current EDC activities. Go ahead, Thad.
Right of way is completed for Haslett Parkway. All the acquisitions as far as expenses related. I think there may be one more that shows up on your next financial, but it has been incurred. We're still waiting on NISD to make their decisions on phase 2, on how that's going to go. I got information that Type A did not get this morning. I have spoken with the developer of Intermodal Commerce Park, the new big one that will be at Haslett Parkway and Intermodal. They're 100% leased, 1.4 million square feet without any incentive requests. There's going to be Lego, HEB, Volkswagen is moving from their current facility into a larger facility, so we're retaining that business as well. And it'll be on the north side of Haslett Parkway. It's south of Transport and Intermodal where those connect. It's the where the groundbreaking was held. But I just got notice today, this afternoon, that they are 100% leased. So that'll be a lot of new business taxes that are going to come in as they finish those out. So that'll be good. The website, I will share that we have delayed that until probably January. The city has a redo for their website. It's been discussed that the city's website is pretty busy. We're going to go through the analytics with the company that's the same company is doing the city site that's going to redo the EDC website. And since they're going through redo, it'll be hard to match them unless we all work together. So I'm going to work with Katrina and Shannon. And what we're doing, again, by looking at those analytics, is we're going to find those 3-4 items that people always use and make those prominent, make those easy to navigate instead of having to dig through the website to get to those things. Again, it's just we want to make it as user friendly as we can, both on the EDC side and the city side. So again, we'll begin that in earnest in January. And I think that is, other than our executive session, that is all I have for an update right now, unless y'all have questions.
Okay, well, I guess no one has any questions. So the next thing on the agenda is our executive session. It is 6-7 minutes till 7. So we will go into executive session. Stephen, turn off the recording, please.
Randall?
Yes.
Randall? If you don't need me for a quorum,
Okay, Ruthie, what were you saying?
I'm
think
gonna
she-
just
I
sign
think-
off. I'm gonna just sign off.
Okay, that'll be
Executive
fine,
session.
Ruthie. Thank you. Okay, we're going to sign out of the regular
Thank you.
session at, looks like 13 minutes till 7. And we're going to go into the executive session here in just a second. Okay, Stephen, did you get us turned off? Number 11, consider an act regarding items to be placed on the next agenda. Thad, I think you've got your list over there.
Yes, sir. We will be bringing back Trevino's Craft Smokehouse and agreement and details on, again, how y'all want to move forward with that now that you've adopted it.
Okay.
And we may have an official agreement. I don't know that we need one on the annexation $1,000, and we may just create a line item. I'll talk to Rob.
Okay.
If there's no other
Whatever's
action needed on
appropriate.
that because the motion was made that way,
Right.
then I'll just address it and
Yeah.
not bring that one forward.
Okay. So that's, we've got that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, he's got that on his list.
Until both the public facilities item and until these properties are, again, we've taken care of all the issues, I will continue to carry all these forward on the agenda.
Okay.
So there will not be any specifics drawn out. We will continue to list them that way until we've resolved it.
Are you going to be in your office next week?
Yes, sir. I'm off the week after that. I'll be out, but I am in the office next week.
Okay.
Does that mean you're coming to visit?
What do you think? Yeah. Okay, if we don't have anything else, no one else has anything to bring up, then this meeting is adjourned at 7:31.